Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Weird Fantasies #1, the very first full-color underground ever made. And obviously very EC Comics inspired here. This is from the Los Angeles Comic Book Company. I think this is like maybe the only comic I have by them. They kind of a smaller underground publisher. I guess all the major action was in San Francisco. I like how they even do this to get that EC feel, the independent distributor. And start off with this nice cover by Landon Chesney, which is interesting because this doesn't look like an underground at all. This looks like a EC homage. Like this could be an EC cover by Johnny Craig or something. And pretty interesting. We have an inside front cover by Jesse Santos, the Filipino comic artist. And man, he is like channeling Joe Kubert in this so hard. This is very Joe Kubert, like really nice. I like this a lot. Jesse Santos did a lot of stuff for Gold Key. I guess he created Dagar the Invincible and Trag and the Sky Gods with Don Glett. And I kind of want to get more of his stuff now. This is really nice. So what a way to start off the comic. Beautiful Richard Corben in his prime. And we see this old guy talking to his young mistress. And he says, the discovery I've made will set those old fogey archaeologists on their ears. I owe so much to you, Lena. So basically this guy has found a technically advanced civilization that born and died in the Amazon before, our modern human history even started. Look at these beautiful colors. Obviously, Corben's doing his own colors. He's the only one who could do it this well. And this is full Corben style. Even just look at the drapery on these sheets or the wrinkles. Just luscious, beautiful stuff. And in the middle of him talking to his mistress, this guy comes in and strangles him and kills him. Man, I love this green so much. It's so nice. The Secret of Zakma. So now we see Lena and her partner in crime, and they approach this temple, the Temple of Zakma. And this guy Tozo, who I guess was their guide, but then kind of ran off into the jungle. He didn't want to be part of this anymore. But now he's changed. And he says, whites go back. This is a forbidden place. He's got a gold necklace on. These guys don't care about the archaeological significance at all. They just know there's treasure there. And Tozo says that I'm not going to help you anymore. I'm a Zakma priest now. I must protect the temple. And the lover, or I guess the partner, says, look at his skin. And it looks like Tozo's skin is all like ravaged. So Tozo attacks the dude. I'll get his name eventually. And Lena shoots him. And he's really messed up. Look at this. God, man, this is just such good Corben. I fucking love Corben. This is beautiful. And he basically says, Tozo, before he dies, says, you must not, you know the secret now, so you must die. That's why he attacks him. So they go into the temple. And then just look at the beautiful colors still continuing as it's darker inside the temple. And then all of a sudden, actually we can see right here, look at his neck. He's scratching at something. And then just a minute later, he says, Lana, I feel sick. I'm sorry, Lena. And look at him, he's just completely ravaged. He says, Tozo was sick. He touched me, now I've got it. So she shoots him. She's like, get away. She rips off her shirt because he touched it. Of course, we really know the reason why is because Richard Corben wanted to draw her boobies like he always does. Man, look at this great gore here. This guy just rotting away. So she finds the gold And then who should come out but her old lover. He's still alive. He says, we'll share the discovery for the rest of our lives. He explains that Tozo pulled him out of a shallow grave. He wasn't quite dead yet. And he says the secret is the disease. There's radioactive isotopes in here, Lena. The radiation has caused some simple bacteria to mutate into a horrible plague germ. That's what wiped out the Zachman civilization. And he says if you touch anything in this temple, you'll contract the disease. And basically, so she's stuck in there because she can't even open the door to get out. And then she just sadly says, I just wanted the gold. Kind of a weird ending. Kind of a little, kind of anticlimactic. But just so beautiful. God, look at that panel there, just alone with this, I don't know if that's a splatter effect or airbrush stuff going on. Next we have Ozzy Finds the Land of Squares by Al Davis. Man, I don't know much about Al Davis, but I want to know more. Look at this opening panel here. Just this amazing op art. I would just love to find out how long this took him to draw this one panel. So we see Ozzy, and he's heading to King Baffle's planet. Just very designy. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy was worked for greeting card companies or whatever back then. Because I haven't seen many of his comics. But it looks like he's got the chops. He could have, made a lot of money. Just all this interesting design work. I like the colors, too. It's amazing that this is the first underground comic in color, right? And right off the bat, they figured out a way to do much better colors than Marvel or DC. Maybe they're willing to pay more because the cover price of an underground was more. But it's just sad that, once in a while, Marvel couldn't have ponied up the money and said, hey, let's make a nice comic like this. We can slap a higher price on it. Maybe kids will pay more. Imagine if, Barry Windsor Smith's Conan, at least an annual was, published like this. That would be amazing. So obviously this is kind of just, played for laughs. This is a kind of funny sci-fi story. I like how the ship lands and it's this giant robot carries it on a tray to the king as if it's a dinner. It's a pretty coolly designed robot too. So we see King Baffle. And I guess Sir Baldwin has stolen his daughter. And he beseeches Ozzy to save her. And I guess he's friends with King Baffle because he says, right away, I'm on it. So much of this just seems like it's he just wanted to do fun designed panels. It's the kind of wispy, sketchy inking. So one of Baldwin's ships pops up and it takes aim at Ozzy. I kind of like this sound effect there. And he shoots Ozzy's ship and he has to make a crash landing on the planet. And apparently, so he's in the land of the squares. And as soon as he lands, this cop car pulls up. Remain in the vehicle. I like that cop there. He says, welcome to the land of squares. And Ozzy says, more like the land of checks. And the cop is checking off all of the infractions he did, just like every minor infraction. Pretty dumb story. If it's a story at all. It's not much of a story. But man, some nice visuals. Very interesting. Next we have Moonchild by Nicola Cuti. Nicola Cuti was, he did kind of everything in comics. He was an editor at Charlton. He was an editor at Warren. He even was an editor at DC for a while. I think an assistant editor. But he did comics like this in the early 70s. He wrote comics. He created E-Man with Joe Staton. He just did tons of stuff. But this is his like undergroundy stuff, Moonchild. And there was a few comics. I think they were self-published. And then even in the 90s, apparently, there was a Moonchild comic. And they're very weird. This weird little wide-eyed, big-boobied character. So we start off in Eros, home asteroid of the Star Babies. That's Moonchild's people. And she finds out that her sister, Starflake, has been kidnapped by Oddball, the mad computeroid. He's going to dissect her. And so she finds this weird, like, robot taxi to take her there. Look at this. You can totally see Nicola Cuti was an assistant of Wally Wood, like so many other great cartoonists. And you can see a lot of Wally Wood in here. I love this landscape. That's a really great panel. And then look at this guy. Kind of reminds me of Wood, too. And this is weird. Like, there's so many weird things in this comic. Nicola Cuti's got a weird mind. They pass this guy. They call him a star counter. I guess they're guys that just go around counting the stars. I kind of like this little soliloquy he has. He says, when I was young, I wanted to impress a girl, so I became a star counter. The girl wasn't impressed, so I kept counting stars to forget her. Now all I have are the stars. I should have counted girls. Some more of this Wally Wood finish going on. So they find Oddball, the mad computer. Inside the computeroid, she finds this little guy who's a bit, like a computer bit. This has really nice primary colors too. Very simple, but very good. So she's running through the ship and trying to avoid this clipper, which I guess is like a robot sentry that's trying to capture her. She shoots it. I really like how these colors, you can see the dots. It's like the old school kind of coloring. So she finds the Oddball's brain, and there's a giant pearl in the middle of it. She surmises that this pearl is what's driving him crazy, making him want to dissect her little sister. So she pulls it out of the brain. And she worries about running into a slimy, which I guess is some creature. And of course, that's exactly what happens. And he says that I lured you here to get the cosmic pearl for me. This is a weird looking creature. Kind of funny design. So they're fighting over the pearl. And but then the star counters arrive. And they tell her that they're really star controllers. These pearls are actually very powerful things that can control the universe. And this guy, as you can see, he's missing his pearl. And so she gives it back to him. And they actually say, we're going to help you now. We're going to help you find your sister. She's aboard Slimy's ship. It was actually Slimy who had her the whole time, not Oddball. And there she is, cute little Starflake. I don't know why she has a Satan pentagram on her shirt. So she tells her the story of how she got captured. And how she became a prisoner. Man, these star controllers, the design just looks like some, kind of reminds me of like a Rick Veitch design, but only because Rick Veitch grew up reading Jack Kirby comics and loving them. So it's like a weirder Jack Kirby design, kind of more trippy. And the star controllers take off in their ship, and our two heroines wave them goodbye. These are so weird, these comics, but man, they're graphically appealing. It's very easy on the eyes, even though these characters are almost repulsively cute. So now, man, this is where we get really EC-ish. The Life Battery. This is an adaptation of an Iondo Binder story, the science fiction author. Art by Landon Chesney. I guess it was adapted by Bill Spicer, the huge kingpin of fandom. He did all those amazing fanzines in the 60s, like Graphic Story, World, and, one of the smartest guys in fandom. And man, this art is nice. This Landon Chesney, I looked him up, and basically it seems like all he did was draw for fanzines in the 60s. A lot of them were Bill Spicer fanzines. And it looks like he barely did anything. He did another Underground, I can't remember which one. So he did a handful of Underground stories and just fanzine stuff. But man, it's hard to believe, like he did do more because he's got the chops. So we start off in this museum. There's a mummy exhibit, and all the people are in the museum checking it out. And this guard is thinking to himself, he says, oh man, that would be hilarious if the mummy opened his eyes and freaked everyone out. And then that's exactly what happens. And man, look at the art in this. It's so good. This is the sad thing, though. The colors are so bad in this. I mean, they're nice, rich colors. The coloring process is good. But it's all of these, like, washed out colors like this. So, like, nothing's differentiated. Like, this beautifully drawn panel is almost like it's kind of, has a film over it because it's just all colored one color. Well, two colors, but all the figures are just like... So this, I'd really love to at least see this in black and white, but I'd like to see this just colored correctly. I hate when colors do that. They get lazy and they just like... Apparently Marie Severin would do that anytime a panel was gory because she was kind of a prude. So her way to like semi-censor it was to just make it all like one color. And it works. It kind of makes it like, I can't really see what's going on. But what you can see is excellent. He's a really good cartoonist. Sorry, back to the story. So this mummy comes alive and is banging on the case. His jaws are like popping up and down. And it's an old mummy. It's desiccated. So as it's banging and, freaking out in there, he slowly basically shakes himself to pieces. His hands fall off. And basically at the end, he's just a bunch of body parts twitching at the bottom of this glass case. So the guard runs away screaming, just like all the museum patrons. They all freaked out and left. But then there's one guy left in the room, an old thin man with a square black case. He twists a tiny knob at the side of the case, and then all of a sudden the mummy shards cease their unholy dance and become inanimate again. And then he quickly leaves the museum. Next we see this guy, Lee Hackett, and he's reading in the newspaper about all these miracles sweeping city. They mention the dancing mummy, the hungry stone lion, all these crazy things are happening in the city. This guy doesn't even care, though. He's just like, I got a date tonight. And I guess his girlfriend likes his hair well coiffed. So he's about to brush his hair, and all of a sudden, the hairbrush comes to life. He starts wiggling around. When he puts it down on his little night table here, or dresser, the brush actually it grows into the dresser. It kind of merges into the surface of the dresser. And this guy's just like, how the fuck do I explain this to my landlady? And he says, first of all, I got to explain it to myself. What the hell's going on? Look at that very Johnny Craig face here. There's so many EC influences all through this thing. Like you see Ingalls. You even see Bill Elder in some of these panels. But definitely some Johnny Craig. So he looks out his window. He figures this must have come from outside. Something must have, I don't know, come in the window or something. So he looks and he sees this little flashing light across the way. at his neighbor's house. And he realizes that, yeah, I think I saw a flashing light right before the brush became alive. So he goes over to this guy's house, and it's this creepy old man. And he says, "Come in, I'll explain about the hairbrush." So the old man takes him up to his laboratory, and he's got all this kind of newfangled modern equipment. And he explains to him that he's responsible for those miracles, the mummy and this hungry stone lion. And basically he has this battery with a little mirror on it. And so he aimed it at Lee Hackett's hairbrush. It's weird how so much of this could be like an actual EC comic. But then also some of it does look like underground cartooning. It kind of changes. Once again, look at this washed out panel. Just everything's colored yellow. Really annoying considering how great this art is. It's really nice. So basically his battery gives things life energy. And he kind of has this almost philosophical questioning session with him. He's like, what is life? Life is one thing, consciousness. And basically what's the difference between something that's animate and inanimate is an inanimate thing just has consciousness, knows that it's alive. Even an amoeba or an algae cell, they know they're alive, which I don't think is true. They don't know anything. They're not sentient. But, and of course, rocks and crystals don't know they're alive. That's why they're not animate. So his machine, does that. Look at this interesting panel. It's weirder than anything Johnny Craig would have drawn, but it seems to be inspired by Johnny Craig. I love that bird's eye view there. And also just the stark design of their silhouettes or shadows. I also love the design of this guy's face. I mean, that chin is fucking nuts. That's nice too. There's a lot of nice panels in here, actually. So it's kind of interesting, though, all the weird pseudoscience he's using to explain this. He really gets into the nitty-gritty of this machine. It's almost like this battery is an organic battery. It's got like cat gut in it. It's the life battery, he calls it. The solution inside of it is closely resembles blood. The catgut makes up the leads, and the convex mirror is a highly polished bone. Kind of weird, interesting concept. God, that guy's face. It's almost like Dick Briefer's Frankenstein. It's like that ridiculous and over the top cartooniness. So the doctor admits that he's not well. He doesn't have long to live. And he needs Lee's help. That's kind of why he animated his hairbrush in the first place. He was hoping he'd come over. He says, I figure if this machine can bring the inanimate to life, even though since I'm half dead, I'm dying, maybe it'll bring me strength and make me more fully alive. He says, I need you to operate the machine and just basically aim it all over my body. So he does, but the pulse meter keeps going lower and lower. And the scientist says, I'm going to go to sleep forever. I deceived you. I didn't tell you that some of the guinea pigs didn't recover. But don't blame yourself. I was willing to take the chance. So I guess there was a huge chance, a small chance that it would reinvigorate him. But he pretty much knew that the odds were against it and it would just kill him. So his pulse gets lower and lower. And he's dead. But Hackett realizes, he's like, wait a second, so now that he's fully dead, maybe it'll work. Maybe it just didn't work because he was in between, So now he shines the battery on the scientist, and it works. the corpse comes back to life. Kind of reminds me of Johnny Craig too. And the figure that sat up, though, was not Dr. Henry, the scientist. It was some monster, some alien life inhabiting the body that had been Dr. Henry's. It was like drooling. His eyes had this idiotic look to them. The body writhed horribly. Such a horrifying, pretty scary image. And he is vital again. And it leaps at Hackett with a horrible gurgling cry. And this is once again a very anticlimactic story. I mean, this is terrifying. I was like, holy shit. And then it's like an hour later, Lee Hackett leaves the house. So we don't even see the conflict. And so I assume that, he fought off the guy and killed him again. He says that the body was smashed to splinters. Oh, I'm sorry. The battery was smashed to splinters. We just have to assume what he did to Dr. Henry. And then it has this corny ending. Lee Hackett realized that Dr. Henry had been wrong in one thing. Life was not just consciousness. It was also soul. That would be great if they started playing some Al Green, if this was a movie. So speaking of Los Angeles Comic Book Company, here's some of their titles. So they did have Robert Armstrong's Mickey Rat. I guess that was their big title. And Myron Roos kind of had a little minor fame. But it looks like all their other ones were these weird Mondo titles, which I totally want. This one looks great. A complete science fiction novel in comic book form, Mutants of the Metropolis, with this weird looking art. Some guy named R. Cernuyik. And Gory Stories Quarterly looks pretty good too. So I've never seen most of these. I think I have a Mickey Rat comic, but not that one. And yeah, I gotta track these down. Oh, the ads by Scott Shaw. Now that I think about it, I've seen this before. We just looked at a Scott Shaw comic, and this might have been in it. And then we have a really groovy back cover by Al Davis again. Man, this guy put the work in. I imagine if you had a poster of this, you could have sold it to a lot of hippies. A lot to look at in this. And a lot of it, I don't even know what I'm looking at. But it looks pretty cool. I like his op art stuff. It's pretty groovy. Pretty cool. Makes me want to take acid again. So there you go, guys. Weird Fantasies. When it's not being great, it's still damn interesting. And, man, just really nice color comic. Except for that last story, which is badly colored. And bad color choices. But, man, I wish there was more of these. This is the only issue. They never had a number 2. And good stuff. Especially, I mean, God, just the Corben story alone. Worth the price of admission right there. But overall, yeah, very impressed. I think I picked this up a few years ago. I never heard of it. And by the cover, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, is it a fake underground or like I don't know, like, I could tell by the cover price that it was an underground. But I just had no idea. There would be a beautiful Corben story in here and all the other interesting stuff. So hope you guys like looking at it. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.